Hello there, and welcome to PlayStationGrenade. Resident Evil 2 Remake, without a doubt, was my game of the year in 2019. Now in 2020, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is here to take everything we learned from Claire and Leon's journey and turn it up to 11. Here's everything you need to know before buying Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Here's a quick overview. Resident Evil 3 takes place before and after Resident Evil 2. Yeah, it's strange. Jill Valentine returns as our hero after surviving the original mansion incident, which set all this in motion. As this happens before RE2 begins, we will see the panic spread through the streets, we will see much more of the city, and hopefully encounter more of the living before the zombie hordes take over. RE3 Nemesis isn't for the faint-hearted. Gore and horror by the bucket load. Expect to be tense, expect jump scares, expect survival mechanics. But here is where we encounter the first real change from Resident Evil 2 Remake. Where Leon and Claire struggle to locate weapons and ammo, Capcom have confirmed Resident Evil 3 Nemesis will have a shift in focus, becoming more about action and fighting the outbreak aggressively. Don't take this as a sign that old habits are being repeated, as there will remain a focus on survival. But in this story, we've come to fight. Take a look at some of the weapons on offer and the sheer amount of ammo being used in these gunfights. Action returns to Resident Evil, for better or for worse, I'm not sure. Oh, and we can off the undead with contextual kills, like a good old bright red barrel. You've guessed it, it goes boom. One mechanic which fundamentally changes the way the game feels is a new dodge motion. Jill can actively avoid lunges from enemies. She's a STARS team member and therefore a step up from rookie cop Leon. Her skill set reflects this. She can avoid incoming damage. But get this, should Jill dodge perfectly, she'll have a brief moment of slow motion to hit some critical headshots. Our own speed and reactions and ultimately our timing will be rewarded in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. A nice touch. Back in 1999, the original game was surprisingly short for a full-fledged number in the series. This time around, that has been fixed. The story of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis will be expanded massively. The areas visited for mere moments in the OG game will now play a bigger part in all affairs. And to go with that, all dialogue has been evolved and expanded too. To modernise the entire piece, things like the tram, the trolley system segments, now take place on a train system. It may be a small change, but the game will feel as if it happened in this timeline, much more updated. Same with the dialogue. If you check out the scene of Nikolai in the subway, his character has been fleshed out immensely. So without jumping to too many conclusions, expect everything from the 90s evolved and expanded for a 2020 audience. In a world where games are remade so often, it can be difficult to understand why we'd play the same story again 20 years later. Well, in RE3 Nemesis, changes have been made. It's the same, but it's different. Let me explain a little. All the same story beats are in the game from the PS1 days, but they have been changed or delayed or remixed to keep us on our toes. For example, when you'd expect a certain boss fight to happen, the game will subvert your expectations and move the boss fight to another part of the game. This keeps everyone on their toes, including the hardcore fans, and hopefully will give them a scare or two. We all know that horror survival games are renowned for their difficulty. This is not the case with RE3 Nemesis, due to adaptive difficulty mechanics. This will make us our own best friend and worst enemy. Simply put, if we struggle with encounters, the game will understand and notice these and slightly change things. Maybe making a boss fight a little easier or adding additional ammo or healing items around the location to help you out more. Here's the thing to remember, adaptive difficulty works both ways. The better players will be pushed to breaking point with more enemies to fight, less ammo around and more aggressive zombies. However you play, the game will make notes and adapt the experience accordingly. Let's get the elephant in the room addressed. As the name suggests, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is all about the Nemesis, a hulking great biological weapon with a single task in life: to hunt down and kill the last remaining STARS team members. And you know it, Jill is the top of that list. Well, her and Brad. But Brad, I've got a bad feeling about Brad. The Nemesis will pursue us throughout the entire game. He'll be everywhere, from the streets to the rooftops, and get this, he can even enter safe rooms. Yes, Resident Evil is renowned for safe rooms giving us that warm and cozy feeling that we can't be hurt. Well, not anymore. The Nemesis will be invading your space at every opportunity. And if you're thinking that Nemi is another Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, think again. We've been told Nemesis will make RE2's tyrant feel like an annoying neighbour compared to this freak of science. There's 2 confirmed playable characters in Resident Evil 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if more are hidden away until release day. Jill, we've talked about, the Badass Stars team member, and Carlos, a member of UCBS, Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service. So yeah, the bad guys in the story have a unit designed to look like the heroes of the piece. Carlos and his squad mates are here to rescue civilians in the aftermath of the outbreak in Raccoon City. Once again, as Carlos is a military corporal, he will have access to even more weaponry. And if you're a fan of the game in 1999, Carlos's playable sections have been expanded and opened up. His character has been developed further. Oh, and his character has changed. Here's a nod to the 90s. Do you remember Carlos back then? He was a bit of a greasy ladies man, which was nice, but now he seems more well-rounded. If I'm honest, I quite liked sleazy Carlos. Another key difference to last year's game is the inclusion of more of the undead on screen at once. Thinking back to last year, I think I had about 4 zombies on screen. Well, in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the ante is being upped again. Hordes of the undead line the streets and meander as a group. We'll have to manage how we take these out. Do we waste our ammunition, or do we look for these environmental kills? All this adds an extra layer of tactical knowledge to the proceedings. Capcom have adapted their inventory system for this outing too. It's not mind-blowing, but it's a subtle change you should notice. Upon picking up an item in RE2 Remake, we'd be transported to the inventory screen. This worked well for a slow-paced horror vibe, but in RE3 Nemesis, this is no longer the case. Anything we pick up will be automatically placed in our backpack and given a spot in our inventory. Elements will stack automatically too. It looks like, due to the amount of ammo we'll be picking up, this change was inevitable to keep the game moving forward. No more jumping to our inventory screen unwillingly. One of the greatest reasons to replay the original RE3 Nemesis was the endings. There weren't many, but interactions in the game led to different outcomes. It was great. Sadly, the call has been made. There will only be one single ending in the 2020 version of RE3 Nemesis. One which will tie up all loose ends, I'm told. So if you've waited 20 years to know which of the endings in RE3 is the correct one, your wait is over. We will know what is canon soon enough. If you're on the fence about buying this one, you should try the demo. Releasing on March 19th, you'll be able to play a small segment of the game as Jill Valentine. Explore the city and try out the new mechanics in the game. You may even find a heap of Easter eggs too. And in fact, another reason to jump into the demo is to find the bobbleheads. Here in RE3, the Mr. Charlie bobbleheads are hiding around the demo. There's 20 to find, and they act like the raccoons in last year's Resident Evil game. They may unlock something in the full game, so I'll be back later in the week with all the locations for you. There's another part of Resident Evil 3 this time around. Sadly, the Merc mode has been removed, which is a bit of a bummer, but look what's here instead. RE3 Nemesis comes bundled with a multiplayer game named Resistance, an isometric survivors versus a single mastermind. If you've played games like Dead by Daylight, or my personal favourite would be Friday the 13th, you'll know what to expect here. 4 human survivors are tasked with escaping a facility. Each of these characters has a different skill set and abilities. On the other side is a single mastermind setting up traps to kill the test subjects. And one other thing they can do is call in a tyrant and take control of it. I'm super hyped for this one. Please join my Discord if this is your kind of game I'm looking for people to play with. RE fans should note that this isn't canon though, so there's no story to be gained here. But on the plus side, we can play as random characters from the RE universe, including Annette Birkin from RE2 and Alex Spencer, amongst others. And released the very moment I'm saying this, there will be an open beta for everyone to try out the new mode on March 27th. Mark it in your calendars, 1 week before the game comes out for real. Let's go over some of the collectibles and different versions of the game. There isn't that many this year compared to last time. Resident Evil games always come with a killer collectible, and RE3 Nemesis is no different. This time, the collectible edition includes a figurine of Jill Valentine. 11 inches of beauty. Tough to turn down for hardcore fans. There's the good old art book here too, and the OG soundtrack from 1999. Oh, and the case is lenticular, which means it has frames of movement when you move your hand slightly when holding it. It's pretty cool. It's a nice touch. The collector's edition also has a Raccoon City map. There's an edition in between the collector's and standard edition in which you will receive an umbrella keyring and a STARS police badge. You should check what's available in your country, as sometimes things are regional. And of course, expect themes to be included in digital variations of the game. And if you pre-order early enough, you will get access to retro skins. So Jill wearing that little tube top. Perfect for the zombie apocalypse. So when can we get our hands on the full final release? April the 3rd. It's so close, I'm so hyped for this one. Are you grabbing RE3 Nemesis? By the way, if you've stayed this long, please write stars in the comments and I'll find you and give you a heart. Thanks for your time, it's much appreciated. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade. I'll see you in Raccoon City.